10-day space flight, and in less than 1 hour, we will see the splashdown right off the coast of San Diego. In moments, Orion will separate from its service module, allowing it to return to Earth independently. Now, at this point, we're approximately 20 minutes from the spacecraft's crossing into the upper atmosphere, where it will slow down rapidly because of drag. Fox News senior correspondent Jonathan Seri is live from the Johnson Space Center, back with us with the latest. Jonathan, what they're going through mentally, physically, intellectually, all of it, all hitting all at once.
Yeah, absolutely. Re-entry is going to be a very dynamic process, because when the spacecraft is in space, and we're looking at live pictures of it right now, that Orion spacecraft, when it's in space with no atmosphere to interfere with it, it can coast. And for most of the mission, once they did that first translunar injection, that main burn to take it out of a relatively low Earth orbit and put it on that trajectory that would take it around the moon, for the rest of the mission, it's been coasting. There were some course corrections that were added to the schedule, but on the way there, it was on such an accurate course, they didn't have to do those inbound course corrections to the moon, and it's only now that they're picking the exact trajectory that they want for re-entry that they've done these minor adjustments. But for the most part, they've been coasting, using gravity to change course as they wrapped around the moon's gravity, curving it around and then pointing it in the direction of Earth. And then as they came back on the return trip, they started out very slowly because they still had the moon's gravity tugging on it, and then the Earth's gravity fighting against it, but Earth eventually winning out, and the closer they get to Earth, faster and faster they go until they hit the atmosphere at 24,000, 25,000 miles an hour. And as soon as they hit that upper atmosphere, they are going to slow down rapidly. And so, you learn in high school physics that there's different types of energy: kinetic energy, where you have motion, energy in motion, and then when it hits the atmosphere, it turns into heat energy, and it produces so much heat and compression of the gases around it that they become electrified. They turn into plasma, basically what lightning is made out of. And so that's why you have that bright trail. And for 6 seemingly agonizing seconds, to those of us watching from the ground, they lose contact with mission control for 6 minutes. But this is normal for space flight. It's planned. And then at the end of those 6 minutes, when you hear happy astronauts on the radio, we all breathe a collective sigh of relief, and we're happy. Laura.
All right, Jonathan, this is incredible stuff. The checklist, one after the other, they're checking off the items, and we're going to check back with you very soon. Now, later this hour, Orion's going to fly by Hawaii as it moves toward California. Remember, it's going to be falling to Earth, where it's going to splash down off the coast of San Diego, where Fox Weather's Brandy Campbell is standing by. Brandy, what's it like out there?
Well, it's a beautiful day out here in San Diego. We know the USS John P. Murtha, the naval ship that's waiting for the crew, is just about 50 to 100 miles away from where we are here at the Naval Base San Diego. You're taking a live look at our location. Right now, we do know that the Murtha is about 5 miles away from the splashdown location, and they should have some smaller Navy boats just over a mile away from that splashdown designated spot. They have also put in their Seahawk helicopters into place. They're going to be there for imagery support. And the latest update from the boat, we also know they've launched a weather balloon that's going to help them gather real-time data on local atmospheric conditions. But in general, we have been told today that the weather is excellent in the location where we are expecting the crew and the Orion spacecraft to splash down. Now, Laura, if you're wondering, will we be able to see this splashdown occur from San Diego? Unfortunately, we've been told no, they will be too far away from the coast for us to see it, but they've told everybody just wave and welcome our astronauts back to Earth. And right now, we know they're around 3,000 miles away from where we are, so they're getting very close to splashing down here. Back to you.
Thank you, Brandy, very much. And here to weigh in is Les Johnson, a former NASA chief technologist who worked on Artemis I. Now, Les, I know you're following every detail very closely here. It's bringing back all the memories. Now, this reentry, we've been hearing, is one of the most dangerous parts of the mission. Tell us what could happen, what is supposed to happen, and during Artemis I, obviously, there was complications with that heat shield. So go through all of that with us.
Yeah, I'll be glad to do that. I have my trusty model of the Orion and the service module here. After the service module separates, the capsule with the heat shield will come screaming into the atmosphere at just under 25,000 miles per hour. And what they're going to do is they're going to shed all that energy by going into the atmosphere. And they're going to take advantage of an interesting thing called a skip entry, sort of like skipping a rock on a lake. Or imagine you're driving down the highway and you put your hand out the window at 70 and you feel the air pushing against you. Well, they're coming in much faster than that into the atmosphere, and that's what causes all that heating. But there are lots of G loads, and on the first flight, they came in and did a skip, which means as they're coming in, a little bit of the aerodynamics is used to pop it up, and then it comes down again. That was done, and it actually caused a little bit of extra damage that they didn't like on the heat shield. So after a lot of analysis and testing, it was determined that rather than trying to redesign this key piece of hardware, which actually held up well, they would have been fine if the Artemis I had someone on board, they decided to modify the reentry to try to reduce the level of damage from that skip. And so they've modified the trajectory a bit to not quite have as much skip, but still get the crew home through the atmosphere.
Now, we're very close to separation at this point. Really quickly, hold on for a moment. The separation is occurring right now. Let's listen into NASA.
Albeit momentarily.
Houston, good step on board.
Houston copies and concurs.
The European service module now separated from Integrity, a job well done.
Why weren't we on it earlier?
Integrity, no action for the 4 CDH cautions. Those are SM related, not applicable.
Integrity.
So, with Integrity now flying free on its own for the remaining 32 minutes of this mission, next up, the raise burn, a 19-second firing of Integrity's thrusters.
Good GPS 2.
Integrity copies, good GPS 2.
Coming up on the 2-minute mark until the raise burn. Again, this is the final tweaking of the orientation of Integrity to put it in the right angle, if you will, the angle of attack that it will fly in during its entrance into the Earth's atmosphere. Entry interface now just 18 minutes, 25 seconds away. This is a visualization, but driven by real-time telemetry. This is the maneuvering of Integrity to the raise burn orientation. Just 2,800 miles from Earth.
Houston, we got a great view of the European service module out the window with the sun hitting the side and the solar rays and the NASA worm right there. It's a beautiful looking machine.
Roger.
And we have completed the maneuver to the raise burn orientation, 1 minute away from the raise burn.
All right, Les. Hi, Les. I know you're still there. So they're doing some readjustments, it looks like. Tell us what we're looking at here.
Well, what you're looking at is they've got to adjust the attitude of the vehicle before it comes in and do a slight raise to its altitude. So what they're doing is reorienting, getting the altitude right so that they're on the right trajectory so those ships won't have to sail to a different location to pick them up than what they planned on. It's all part of just making sure that that after they do these burns that they can rely on Earth's gravity and what they know about the atmosphere to bring them down exactly where they need to be.
Right, we were just told the burn is now fully underway, so that's just another great sign for this mission. I mean, for the lay people watching this, you know, you watch an image and then it's gone. You're like, well, what are we seeing right now? But these guys are making every calculation that needs to be made, and the computer systems in Houston are full bore here to make sure that this is a perfect re-entry into the atmosphere.
And so far on this mission, everything technically, for the most part, has gone really, really well. And don't forget, this is a test flight. I mean, we had the uncrewed test flight of Artemis I. The purpose of this was to put people in it to make sure all the systems worked with people and they could do their science and bring them home safely so that we can then go to the next Artemis mission, demonstrate the rendezvous and docking capabilities in orbit, and then it's back to the surface. All of these will be test missions for enabling us eventually to have that moon base that I, for one, have been dreaming about since I was about 10 years old.
Re-entry, as you said, Les, is all about getting it right, precise. It's math, physics. Now, NASA says if they hit the atmosphere too steep, so the crew gets crushed, right, by the G-forces, heaven forbid, too shallow, they skip off into space like a stone on a pond. No room for error, correct?
That's correct. And the nice thing about this is we've done this for years back in the 60s. There have been lots of unmanned vehicles that have come into the atmosphere since then. The physics is very well understood. And as long as the equipment is working properly, those crew are going to be fine. The thing to remember, though, is, and I don't want anybody to forget because accidents do happen, despite the best engineering, nature in space is trying to get you at every turn. And it really takes the dedication and a lot of work by the engineers and scientists to keep this crew alive and keep the mission going. You mentioned earlier about inspiring that next generation. I hope this does, because the original mission certainly inspired me.
There are only three of the remaining moonwalkers from the Apollo mission still alive. They range from age 90 to age 98, and including Buzz Aldrin. So there are not many of the original Apollo astronauts left. This is the next generation, and it's amazing to see this. Les, thank you very much. We are gearing up for another communication blackout at 6:53 p.m. Artemis II had a big one earlier this week when Orion circled to the dark side of the moon. So the crew was out of touch with anyone on Earth for about 40 minutes. It was harrowing for those of us who are watching this minute by minute. Now, it was just the four of them, the moon, the stars, the atmosphere around them, but today, comms blackout will only last about 6 minutes when Orion is speeding toward the Earth and the capsule itself is at peak heat. Here to weigh in is Terry Virts, former NASA astronaut. Terry, you know, what is it like? Astronauts, they have zero communication with Earth. They know what they have to do in those moments, but nevertheless, that must be a strange feeling.
Yeah, these last few moments, when I was flying in the Soyuz, we had a similar separation, and that was a loud bang. I mean, when the module separated, there was no doubt that the module was gone. So it'll be interesting to hear what they just felt. But right now, they're still weightless, but only for a few more minutes. And what I was doing, I had a pencil in my space shuttle uniform. So I was sitting there, and I'd let it go, and it would float. I'd let it go, and it would float. I'd let it go, and then it would slowly start to move down. And then I'd grab it, and I'd let it go, and it would move down faster. And you could see the G-forces coming on second by second, and they're going to get up to probably almost 4 Gs. So it's going to be 10 days of weightlessness, feeling like you're falling, to all of a sudden there's 4 times your weight, like laying on your back and having 3 or 4 of your buddies lay on top of you. It's going to be a big big shock for them.
Well, Terry, NASA has stated that they're confident the astronauts are going to return comfortably and safely. But what are the risks here? The heat shield is what we've been talking about. The calculations that have to be perfectly done, entering at the right angle. The parachutes have to work at the exact right time to slow that spacecraft down as it approaches Earth. Talk about that.
Yeah, the good news is the trajectory is set. I mean, there's not enough fuel on board the spaceship to screw it up. So NASA knows that they're on the right trajectory. Right now, the Orion capsule is doing a very small burn just to get away from that service module so they both don't hit the atmosphere at the same time. But they know the trajectory they're on, and they know that it's good. So that's not a risk. You know, the heat shield is something everybody's keeping an eye on. I actually watched the first unmanned Orion test from the space station years ago. The last one, it had those chunks that came off. The good news is, even though it had problems, it was still safe. The capsule survived. The crew would have survived. So with this new trajectory they're doing, I don't anticipate any problems with the heat shield. The parachutes have been tested a lot of times, so I don't anticipate any problems with any of those. Right now, it's just wait till your pencil starts to drop, and then all of a sudden you're smashed back. And that's going to be several minutes. It's actually really difficult to breathe. When you're in a capsule under that number of Gs, you have to push your chest out to allow oxygen to go into your body. And as soon as you stop pushing, it's like somebody like Mike Tyson punching you in the chest. That goes out, the air goes out, and then you have to push your chest out. So breathing is actually pretty physically difficult for the next few minutes.
Terry, I remember I had the great pleasure of launching off the USS Truman in an F-18 Super Hornet. That was fun. That was the G-force on that. I can't imagine what this is like, because that was intense, flying with those guys. So how close to the limits of physics are they operating here? You talked about that, but this is ultimately a physics problem, right, in the end? So how close do they get?
So the physics happening is the heating, and you know, we could make things that can withstand hotter heat, but we can't make anything as big as this pretty huge Orion capsule. So we're kind of at the limits of building something so big that can withstand 5,000 degrees of heat. But you know, the physics of parachutes, you can imagine it, Laura, because you have experienced those G-forces. You only experienced it for probably 1 or 2 seconds before you were off the deck. They're going to experience it for 6 minutes. So, but you personally can wrap your brain around that. It's pretty impressive. But I think the biggest physics problem is that heating. I mean, you know, we just don't have a lot of things that humans have built that can do much better than what this Orion capsule is doing in terms of heat.
We're getting a reflection off the window of the Orion right now. What they're seeing as they look out the capsule window, it's a bit of a reflection, but you kind of get the sense it's, you know, still looks like into the darkness, but that's going to change real quick. They said they have a great view of the moon still. It's a little smaller than it looked yesterday, and the vehicle's now in a roll. And as you said, the trajectory is right on. The difference between re-entering Earth's atmosphere from their mission, from the International Space Station, is there a difference? And if that's a dumb question, please tell me it's a dumb question, but it was something that I thought of.
You'll be able to see. So right now, this is my old NASA jacket that I had. And I have this 25, it's a Mach 25 patch. So when we came back, we were going 25 times the speed of sound. If you see a Hubble astronaut, somebody who went, to the Hubble Space Telescope, they were a few hundred kilometers higher. So they were going faster when they hit the atmosphere. They're going Mach 26. So if you see somebody with a 26 patch, you know they went to the Hubble Space Telescope. So these guys are going to have a 30 or 32. I don't know what number they're going to get, but they'll be the only 4 humans who can have a patch that starts with a 3. So that'll be bragging rights within the astronaut office.
And how does the spacecraft actually? I mean, it slows down just by entering the Earth's atmosphere, obviously, and then when they reference the drag, you have the parachutes later on, but then the drag is, explain that, what that actually is.
So there's drag from the air resistance, and then at the very end there's drag from parachute. But the capsule does not hit the atmosphere at a 90-degree angle. It maybe hits it at an 80-degree angle, And what that does is provide lift, just like an airplane has lift. So even though it's a capsule, you can bank left and you can bank right. A typical capsule can probably turn left or right maybe 50 miles during that whole, 5,000-mile reentry track. The space shuttle, because it had wings, could turn left and right well over 1,000 miles. It's because we had to land on a runway. But even though it's a capsule, it will have a little bit of control. And the drag they control, if you bank a lot and you dive into the atmosphere faster, you'll get thicker air faster, you get more drag, and you'll land shorter. So if your landing point is too far away, you bank the capsule, just like you bank an airplane, and that'll dive you down in the atmosphere, and that'll let you land a shorter distance. If you're going to be too short and you want to go farther, you keep the capsule pointed upright, if you will, and that lets it go a longer distance.
All right, Terry, this is fascinating, and 25 is pretty good, my friend. It's a very small club you're a member of. You're a member of one of the coolest clubs out there. Okay, it's just 370
for someone else
of you.
At NASA right now, it's I don't know exactly. It's probably around 50. In all of human history, it's been a few hundred. But still, when you're in the office, you don't want someone else to have something better than you. So there's always this competition. It's very friendly, but it'll be cool to see their patch.
I love it. Terry, thank you so much. Taught me something I didn't know about that. Here with analysis also is former NASA astronaut Captain Jerry Lininger. Jerry, we are now about 6 minutes away from re-entry. I know this is taking you back as well. This is so exciting. It's nail-biting for a lot of us. What's going through your mind, my friend?
Well, first of all, Laura, you're part of a club, too, flying off an aircraft carrier, getting shot in a catapult. So that's a pretty cool club to be in. My number 3 son, Henry, is an FA-18 pilot, so he'll have to give you a ride someday.
Woo. All right, sounds good.
What's going through my mind is a bit of the physiology. I'm an old flight surgeon, so they've done some fluid loading. So when you're in space and everything's floating, the fluid, the blood goes to your brain, carotid artery says, hey, I got too much fluid, and it dumps it, and you become space adapted. When you're coming back and starting to get the gravity again, you're basically dehydrated by Earth standards. And so before they even started any of this, they've been sucking down saltwater type solutions to try to get their pressure in the blood back up. The other thing they're facing, of course, is the G-forces, the physical part of it, the muscle atrophy. My bone, for example, 5 months in space, I had about a 13% bone loss in my hips and lower spine, disuse atrophy. So that's a thing. Another thing that they're really going to be dealing with, though, is the space motion sickness and now just good old rocking in a boat type sickness. So your inner ear is maladjusted to being back on Earth. Gravity's pulling down on the otoliths. And when you talk to the Apollo guys and they've looked at their oral history, they said they were doing sort of okay, stomach awareness, kind of feeling nauseated. And then when they started bobbing in that capsule in the water, that's when full vomiting hit. So I think they're being very cautious. The doctors will get to them quickly, but that's kind of normal expectation.
What's more intense of a feeling? Is it launch or is it re-entry?
So it's a matter of time to some degree, just like your catapult shot, it's boom, and it's a good, powerful thing. Launch is kind of a boom, and it's 8 minutes of, just shaking, violent. The solid rocket boosters, even on this rocket, would come off, and now the ride gets a lot more steady. But re-entry in the shuttle was 45 minutes of doing this and fireball around you, and these guys are having 13, 14 minutes of very intense pounding fireball. Pyrotechnic devices firing to do separations, for example, of the hatch cover. And so they're going to be hearing almost like a war zone. It's boom, 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 things happening. Those are good explosions because things are working properly.
Now, Jerry, I think we're going to listen in now right before they lose comms. So just stay with us, Captain.
With the vehicle, no issues with the crew. And the weather at the splashdown site is go.
Captain, we're going to go back to you
1 minute until
here.
entry interface.
Yeah, Captain, we're going to go back to you at this point. What's the point of no return during re-entry when you realize that, you got it, it's going to work, you're going to get down, and you can breathe a sigh of relief?
Yeah, they're well past the point of no return. Actually, when they did the translunar injection burn, 26 hours into the mission, that determined their reentry. They're coming in. They can adjust it a little bit, as Terry mentioned, but they're basically committed to landing off the coast of San Diego, plus or minus maybe 100 miles. And so they're committed all the way. I think the sigh relief only comes when you splash down and everything's still intact. That's when you might relax a little bit, like we made it. And I'll tell you, Laura, what an existence we have here on planet Earth. The air is all around us. We don't have to make it. We're not zooming. Well, we are zooming. The planet itself is zooming through space, but you're not going 25,000 miles an hour. Just a carefree life. What a great existence we have here on the planet. And you should just be counting your blessings every day of your life, how good we have.
Jerry, we're going to have to go. We got re-entry in 10 seconds. I know you understand this. Let's listen into NASA.
And we have crossed the threshold, now entering the Earth's atmosphere. We're at 400,000 feet, traveling 34,800 feet per second. Time to splash down, 13 minutes, 10 seconds. And as predicted, we've entered our communications blackout. This will be a 6-minute blackout period. No voice, no data from the crew. We're 30 seconds away from the anticipated point of peak heating on the vehicle, where temperatures will rise to about 4,000 to 5,000 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the true test of our trajectory. And from the G5 aircraft in the vicinity of the splashdown zone, this view of integrity. So that pinpoint of light shows the vehicle as it enters the period of peak heating in the Earth's atmosphere, the first tug of gravity being felt by Integrity's astronauts since their launch back on April 1st. Four and a half minutes until the end of the blackout period. Time to splash down, 11 minutes, 33 seconds. The landing and support officer reports that the P3 has acquisition on Integrity. Three and a half minutes left in this blackout period. This is a visualization of the plasma buildup around the spacecraft and the repelling of that heat on Integrity's heat shield. Flight Dynamics reports that airborne assets in the vicinity of the splashdown zone do have a visual on integrity. Still 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in our blackout period. Time to splashdown, 9 minutes, 35 seconds. Multiple airborne assets as part of the recovery team all have visuals on integrity. And the WB-57 flying in the splashdown zone also has a visual. And the Navy helos also have visuals. We're still in the blackout period. Still do not have communications from the crew.
A few more minutes of the communications blackout with the crew of Artemis II as NASA continues to monitor the re-entry and soon splashdown off the coast of San Diego where the weather is beautiful. Let's listen back in.
We are now processing data from integrity. Landing and support officer reports the small boats are en route to the splashdown target zone. Passing through 150,000 feet, our trajectory is perfect. We're getting intermittent views of integrity. Still waiting to establish voice communication.
Integrity, Houston, comm check, post-blackout.
Houston, Integrity, we have you loud and clear.
Your trajectory is nominal, and your recovery teams have visual.
Guidance looks good.
No action for the enabled internal camera controller fail.
Big cheers from the viewing room here in Mission Control as voice communication reestablished. And there go the first series of parachutes, and we're on drogues.
And Houston, we're visual 2 drogues out the window.
2 good drogue shoots. Next up.
We copy, we see them.
Next up, the deployment of pilot parachutes that will pull the main chutes out. Time to splash down 3 minutes and 10 seconds. Perfect descent rate according to flight
Integrity,
dynamics.
good rates on 2 drogues.
We see the same on board.
Passing through 10,000 feet, still on drogues. Main chute deploy. We're at 5,000 feet. Search and recovery beacon has been activated on integrity. And we have 3 good main chutes. Good 3 main chutes, good reefing, good descent rate.
Good rates, and we see 3 good-looking parachutes. Integrity. Cabin pressure indicates no need for hydrazine checks.
Integrity copies.
This is a perfect descent for integrity. Its crew sounding hale and hearty on board. Time to splash down 1 minute, 15 seconds. Integrity about to complete a journey spanning 694,481 miles from its launch from the Kennedy Space Center back on April 1st, and a trip around the moon. Passing through 1,000 feet.
Integrity, splashdown, sending post-landing command now.
Splashdown confirmed.
Copy splashdown, waiting on VLDR.
Splashdown confirmed at 7:07 p.m. Central Time, 5:07 p.m. Pacific Time. From the pages of Jules Verne to a modern-day mission to the moon, a new chapter of the exploration of our celestial neighbor is complete. Integrity's astronauts back on Earth. And the landing and support officer reports the vehicle is stable 1. We still will be deploying the crew module uprighting system to maintain that orientation. A perfect bullseye splashdown for Integrity and its 4 astronauts. The unofficial splashdown time, 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m. Central Time. We'll get that refined for you. That would put the end of the mission at a mission elapsed time of 9 days, 1 hour, 31 minutes, 35 seconds. And we're configuring for very low data rate. Once again, splashdown occurring in the Pacific, southwest of San Diego at 7:07 and 47 seconds p.m.
Integrity Houston, comm check on VLDR.
Houston, we have you loud and clear on VLDR. How else?
We have you the same. We'll meet you over in post-landing.
Perfect communications established.
A journey. We are stable 1, 4 green crew members.
Houston copies all.
Reed Wiseman reporting 4 green crew members. That is not their complexion. That is the fact that they're in great condition. That's what that means. So stable 1, upright. The crew module uprighting system is being deployed. The 5 airbags being inflated through helium to maintain the upright configuration for the vehicle. This was a textbook entry and a textbook touchdown for Integrity. Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen back on Earth after a journey around the moon.
Integrity is back on planet Earth. Stuck the landing. How beautiful. God is good. They went farther than any human had ever gone before, and wow. Great power struggle between the United States and China. The space race, the United States firmly in the lead, taking us one step closer to a moon base and another step closer to Mars. Historic day for the United States and mankind. Let's bring in Butch Wilmore, former NASA astronaut and Fox News contributor. How does that feel, Butch?
Jesse, I couldn't say it any better than you did. Wow. I mean, wow. Put it in perspective. On Wednesday of last week, we launched 8.8 million pounds of thrust, this crew into orbit. The next day, they burned the translunar injection burn, and that put them on the course. That was the burn that would bring them back to Earth. There weren't other burns. There was a little tweaking here and there, but there was no other major burn. When that burn concluded, they said, well, they'll land 7 minutes after the hour, and that's exactly what happened 8 days later. I mean, it's thrilling. It's amazing. And God bless the United States of America. Wow.
I mean, bullseye. Right there in the Pacific, off the coast of San Diego, and the Navy's on the way. They got great communication from inside. You've splashed down like that. What's that feel like?
It's a great feeling, obviously. Our stay was a little extended. It was special. This is so special. I mean, traveling faster than any human has ever traveled. Gone further than any human has ever traveled. Jesse, I just want to share. I wore this orange tie. This is historically the color of Navy test flight. You got 2 Navy test pilots in the front seat. I wore this in honor of them. It's just an amazing thrill. I'm beside myself. I'm almost speechless. I mean, exactly bullseye. Wow. On the minute. Wow. Wow.
I mean, I've never been this nervous covering anything in my entire life, and I can't even imagine how these people feel. We're getting word that all 4 crew members are in excellent condition and just on the way back from the dark side of the moon. 10 days, and now waiting for retrieval, which should be there any minute. What an accomplishment for the United States.
What an accomplishment. It is, like you said, it's amazing. Think about it. Almost 57 plus years ago, Apollo 8 circled the planet. The world was watching. There are very few events in human history, modern human history, where the entire world is literally watching. And we've just witnessed one. This is monumental, absolutely monumental.
So right now they're checking to see if there's any toxicity surrounding the capsule. None so far. So far, so good. You heard the NASA voiceover saying that it was almost a perfect re-entry.
It was absolutely perfect. You can see the capsule there in the view. Those are the uprighting bags. If it were to go stable 2, which means it would have been inverted, those bags would have lifted it up to the upright position, which is stable 1. It landed stable 1, but the bags still inflate just in case a wave or something. Obviously, it's smooth seas right now. That would not happen in this scenario. But yeah, they're sniffing. They're making sure. Hypergolic fuels is what is on the spacecraft. And basically, you have a fuel and an oxidizer. When they meet, they explode. There's no ignition source. It's a chemical reaction. So those hypergolic fuels are on board, making sure all those orifices are closed. So what they'll do is they get closer and closer. They'll sniff, make sure everything's fine, because you don't want to start extracting the crew with a bad atmosphere around them. So that's what they're doing in those checks.
They're having a little bit of an issue with the phone inside the capsule. Everything's fine with the crew, just the phone is having a little bit of a technical difficulty. What's it like when you're just sitting there? Are all the things that were in the capsule just scattered all over the place? Is it a complete mess?
No, they got into ship-shape condition before they started the reentry phase. They got everything strapped down, tied down. If there was anything floating, it's not anymore, obviously, after going through those 4 Gs on reentry. And think about this, too, Jesse. 32 times the speed of sound. The patch that they'll wear will have a 32 on it. No other modern-day astronaut has that. And those that follow will have the same.
Wow. What a great day to witness something like this. Oh, man, it's just such a special moment. Thank you so much, Butch, for joining us for Splashdown. We'll never forget it.
Thank you. Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah,
thank you.
Winston Scott, former NASA astronaut. Winston, you were here 10 days ago with me on launch day, and now here we are as these 4 pioneers just splashed down in the Pacific.
Absolutely, and it's good to be back again. I tell you what, this is a momentous occasion. I'm just so excited. I was just listening to my buddy Butch there give his comments, and we all are at a loss of words to express how awesome this actually is. An incredible mission from start to finish, launching from the Earth, going around the moon, taking all those photos, re-entry, an incredibly fast re-entry, touchdown, and now they're sitting there waiting to be picked up by the Navy, so it's just a really exciting day. I'm excited for them.
Yeah, we're still waiting to get some audio from the crew. We're going to turn that around. The phone there is having a little bit of it's on the fritz, as they say. But everybody's good and everybody's happy and healthy.
Everybody is good. Everybody is healthy and happy. You know, you asked a minute ago, is there a mess in the capsule? No, the capsule is quite orderly. Before they left orbit, they stowed everything away and put everything where it's supposed to be. Some of the things we don't think about, but we like to laugh about the toilet, the universal waste management system. When you go into orbit, you have to activate the toilet. Before you come home, you have to deactivate it and prepare to come home. Same thing with the galley, the kitchen, the food preparation facilities. So not only do you have to prepare a rocket and a complex vehicle, but all the normal housekeeping things that we prepare here on Earth when we go away on a long vacation or whatever, they have to prepare it on orbit and prepare before you come back home. So much went into preparation to return to Earth, aside from executing the deorbit burn, entry interface, and so on. All kind of things you don't think about.
Yeah, the heat shield held up. The hand-me-down heat shield, they used it on the last run, had a little, some bruises on it, and they reused it. They didn't want to make a new one, and guess what? They didn't need it, because it came through perfectly, didn't it?
It came through perfectly. What they did was there was no time to redesign it for this flight, so they changed the trajectory. They made the trajectory a little bit steeper, so the capsule saw higher temperatures, but over a shorter period of time. The analysis showed them that this heat shield would hold out better over a shorter period of time, rather than lower temperatures over a longer period of time. You know, what we call the heat shield, the thermal protection system, that thing takes a lot of abuse. It's not unusual. On my Columbia flight, remember we lost Columbia in 2003. I flew Columbia in 97, and it was determined that we had some of the highest tile damage in the history of the program. Our damage did not come from heat. It came from micrometeorites. So my point is that heat shield takes a lot of abuse, but in this case, apparently it held up real well. The folks are back on the water safely. But believe me, there will be a thorough analysis of this heat shield.
You put that heat shield in the Hall of Fame, right? Oh man, God bless that heat shield held up. That's a hot ride.
Absolutely.
Winston.
Well, for Artemis 3 coming up next year, there's a redesigned heat shield that has already in work to replace this one. This one was the old one with which they had problems. There'll be a totally new design one for the next flight, and I suspect they'll go back to the original skip re-entry. So that's what's happening there.
All right, beautiful technological innovation taking place. It's just awe-inspiring to see what the human brain is capable of. Winston, thanks so much for joining us. You bookended it. The Artemis II voyage to the dark side of the moon, and we love you for that.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
All right. Dan Tanney's an engineer and former NASA astronaut. So we have the fast boats are now moving in, and they're doing about a 15-minute power down on the capsule. You can actually hear them on the phone. They can't hear us, but they're okay. So, Dan, you want to put this into words for me? It's just so special.
Man, it's how awesome to watch it. It was I was holding my breath, probably like the whole world that was watching, holding my breath. My thought was with the families of these four my friends, these astronauts that I know, and if I'm nervous, my goodness, their family and loved ones were I'm sure even more nervous, but boy, those milestones clicked off. The separation, the entry interface, the comm blackout exactly like they planned it, the comm check, and the drogue and the main chutes. Man, it was just perfect and really wonderful to see. Wonderful to have those guys back on the ground, the whole crew on the ground. And really, I'm relieved for their families and friends because, I was sweating it a little bit here. And I know that my family hates the launch and the landings just because it's so stressful. So it's wonderful for them to know that their loved ones are back.
Now, I need a drink. Can you tell us a little bit about the pyrotechnics and the parachutes? Were they blasting those parachutes off the capsule? How many were there?
So let's see. So the first thing that has to happen is the top, the lid that holds the whole thing together has to come off. Those are some pyros that pull the lid off. And then there's a set of parachutes called the drogues. Those are those two small parachutes, and their main job is to slow it down a little bit, but mainly to stabilize the capsule so that the capsule has a stable attitude as it's coming down. And so it slows it down. I think it's to like from 130 miles an hour to something like 60 or something like that. I can't remember the numbers. And then you don't want the mains to come out too early because then you could drift forever. So it was at something like 5,000 or 6,000 feet when the mains came out. And so that's another set of pyros. So they have pyros that let the drogues go, and then they have another set of pyros that has these smaller, I think they're parachutes or some sort of drag mechanism that pulls the mains out. And you saw those three mains come out, and they don't want to come out full size right away because the shock of the suddenness of the deceleration would be jarring. It might even break the straps on this parachute. So they come out in a small profile, and then there are actually some, they're not pyrotechnic, but there are ways to have mechanical fuses that will then what's called reef, and then they will up and make the parachute larger. All those mechanisms, the pyros and the mechanical devices, are a must work, and they test them over and over, and boy, they did a great job.
We're getting a real tight shot of the capsule right now.
Beautiful.
Orion, and we're seeing these naval vessels just standing by, still establishing communication with the crew. The crew's fine, just the phone isn't working properly. It's kind of funny listening to NASA talk to these guys and trying to establish communication. Everyone's fine. Everyone's all right. You're seeing a helicopter circling above. They're gonna extract the crew momentarily and bring them back to the John Murtha, a naval vessel out there about 50 miles outside San Diego. Thank you so much, Dan, for your expertise and being here with us on this beautiful day.
It's my pleasure. What an honor to be here, and such a fantastic event in NASA history.
It sure is. Thank you again. Scott Hubbard, a.k.a. the Mars Czar. He's the former director of NASA's Mars Exploration Program. All right, Mars Czar, everybody, why are we going to the moon? Why do we need a base there? Tell us.
We've absolutely got to return to the moon. Now, I have to say, I was a skeptic for a long time about going to the moon. I worried that I would get stuck there and the United States would not be able to go on to Mars. But when you look at what happens to the human being, the way our bodies change, the way space affects us, we really need to know what happens. And the best way to do that is to go to the moon, spend time there, learn if you're in 1/6 gravity, what happens to you? Because you don't want something to happen if you're 7 months away at Mars and you don't understand what's going to happen when you descend in that capsule into the 3/8 G that's Mars. I think it's really important. I used to not feel that way, but having a base on the moon, understanding what it is to explore that alien world, that's all part of getting to Mars.
And the Chinese are also eyeing parts of the moon. I think this was maybe a competition for some real estate, perhaps a parking space. We want to establish a presence there before they do.
Yeah, it's really important, I think, that we know how to work in the moon's gravity. It's important that we land in the area there that's near the South Pole Aitken Basin. It's called Shackleton Crater. And there's two things there you need. One, in that permanently shadowed crater, it looks like there's a lot of water ice that you can use for oxygen and rocket fuel. And nearby is a place they call the Peak of Eternal Light. It's not quite eternal, but it's lit most of the time so that you can, in fact, get solar energy. So that piece of real estate, which isn't very large, becomes extremely important for a moon base.
And I think you can see on the bottom right hand of the screen, Mr. Isaacson, who is the NASA head. If you want to listen in, producers, can we hear his take?
So this is an accomplishment for humanity. Again, a historic mission to the moon and back. How does this make you feel, and what do you hope people take away from this?
Well, I'll tell you, I think about the crew members that we've all had an opportunity to observe over the last 10 days, right? I mean, they're absolutely professional astronauts. I mean, wonderful communicators, almost poets. But then I think these were the ambassadors from humanity to the stars that we sent out there right now. And I can't imagine a better crew than the Artemis II crew that just completed a perfect mission right now. So yes, it's a huge moment for everybody, right? I mean, we are back in the business of sending astronauts to the moon, bringing them back safely, and to set up for a series more. I mean, this is not a once in a lifetime, which you hear sometimes around here. It's like, this was a once in a lifetime. No, it's not. This is just the beginning. We are going to get back into doing this with frequency, sending missions to the moon until we land on it in 2028 and start building our base.